The thumbnail has Drunkovision in it. Mercifully, closing out of the game and reopening the game. Or I suppose it has been like 2 days since I played. Maybe that did it too, who knows? A seance I propitiated to gods, whatever. We're back. The blur is gone, although my annoyance remains. At Knights of the Old Republic to the Sith Lords. I understand it might be a limitation of the game, or an intent to impose a challenge, by making it so that you cannot use the full weight of your party while you travel. But if you have all these folks back at the ship to save the ship, or you're like in the ship, and you can't take them with you, and you can't kill them, or turn them away at any point, what the hell? Like, it is immersion damaging for me. I understand the value in having the player character engage in these things, but where the hell is the rest of my crew during this? Are they engaging in their own investigations, their own interests? You know, and is the ship, like, entirely left alone? Like, where do they go? And you can't talk with them, like, any of them about this, like, what the fuck? You know, they can't, like, do anything. This is not the first time our ship's been raided, and it won't be the last time the ship is raided throughout the entire series. It ends up being one of the, like, the game design choices or limitation of the engine or whatever that just frustrate me about it. Along with the, well, I've vented out my frustrations and problems to some extent throughout the entire series. You know, disagreements I've had about dialogue stuff, disagreements I've had about, like, game design. You know, one of the reasons why I'm doing this style of playthrough is because it was a way for me to find interest in this game when I didn't really have interest in playing through it. And just because of how interesting I found this playthrough to be, is why I've continued to go through a 15-hour, beyond, like, a 15-hour timer. You know, we're looking at a situation where we're about to double the amount of, like, requested time from Trussig on this game. You know, and one of the ways to preserve me and not have me so frustrated was to skip and bypass, like, dialogue stuff, you know, to make suboptimal choices, and to pursue, like, the idea of what would Jafan do, WWJD, as opposed to, like, what would Grimith do. Because otherwise I'm going to bleed frustration, I'm going to zero in on the limitations of the game as opposed to actually playing, you know, a role-playing game, you know, instead of a role-playing video game. It just ends up, like, being like a shrug for me. At least I have a character build that has not had too much trouble with the combat. If this combat build had turned out to be like a disaster, like really rough for combat, like wasn't capable of supporting himself or surviving, I'm confident this playthrough would have ended some time ago. Anyway, before I go back outside, I'm gonna talk to Kreia a bit. There's some stuff involving, like, Visa's master that we can ask about, and it'll be, like, a nice way to bleed off any frustration. We can talk, we can laugh, we can live, we can love. And then we can go back outside and explore more of Nar Shaddaa, because I do have some interest in that, still. For whatever reason, we still have to keep provoking the exchange, too, so we kind of have to explore. Like, we gotta find out how to attract the exchange's attention, one way or the other, and that necessitates exploring and like, getting involved in all this dumb shit. We have to side quest. Is it really even side questing if it has to be done in order for main quest?
Yes. Have you come with questions?
Yeah, I need some answers.
Ask, and I will answer.
What do you know of Visa's master? You may recall our dialogue with Visa. She was very cryptic, like Kreia is, but she did talk a bit about her master.
He, if he can truly be called a man any longer, is one of the Dark Lords that pursues you. I do not think he knows what you are. Not yet. He spared the Miraluka, and that may have been the last shred of feeling that exists within him. Keep his slave close to you. I suspect there was a reason he spared her, and perhaps a reason that she survived when the rest of her people and the Jedi did not.
Do you have any idea why he spared her?
Perhaps he is bound to her, as I am bound to you. If so, there may be a death served by hers. You must be prepared to sacrifice the blinded one. Perhaps her death will buy you the time you need to deal with her master.
Well, I mean, Jafan has no attachment to her, since she snuck on board the ship and tried to kill Jafan until her lightsaber was destroyed, has been incredibly cryptic. We can't space her. Perhaps I can convince her to sacrifice herself. That would be a twin victory, I think.
If you have such power, then I would make use of it. There is no need to dirty your hands when you can convince another to drive a blade into their own heart.
Kreia is savage. I thought I was cold.
Oh, you have promise. But wait until you have more years fall upon you, and you will see what a shell your heart will become.
Jesus. How did he destroy her home world? You may recall, like, Kreia and Jafan have had prior dialogue regarding that whole homeworld destruction thing.
It is a technique that is almost as old as the Sith themselves. It is a means of severing connections between life, the Force, and feeding upon the death it causes. It cannot be taught. It can only be gained through instinct, through experiencing its effects firsthand.
He used that to kill an entire planet? Alright, if that's true, Jafan's pretty fucking concerned about that. Like, oh. Ooh, maybe it's a good idea that, I never meet this, entity. Yeah, Jafan does not quite have planet-killing power. like, it sounds like a great challenge. Defeat the entity that has planet-killing power. He's like, ooh. Ooh. It's like he's playing Bazak, right? And he's all out of, like, cards in his hand. And, Pato Auto flips 20. And it's like, shit. There's no even strategic dischoices in that. In which case, it's not quite like that. There might be a better, like, situation. Because there is some, hopefully, some strategic nuance here that Jafan can manipulate. Anyway, he used that to kill an entire planet.
Yes, and he fed upon its destruction. It will sustain him for a time.
What? How can anyone have that kind of power?
Power? Do you think so? You would be wrong. There is no strength in the hunger he possesses, and the will behind his power is a primal thing, and it devours him as he devours others. His mere presence kills all around him, slowly feeding him. He is already dead. It is simply a question of how many he kills before he falls.
You said I was the death of the Force. How is he able to perform such slaughter?
Nothing is impossible with the Force. It is an energy that flows through all living things. And like energy, it may be harnessed, channeled, and consumed at times. It may even be a substance that can burn and ignite. Do not think of his power as one would a weapon, or one of your warships of the Republic. It is terrible, but it is still a subtle thing. The sect of assassins that chase you feed on the Force. What he does is simply the pinnacle of what they could achieve in time. And that is why they and their techniques must be wiped out. No one again must experience and learn what her master did.
Okay, so first off, that doesn't seem like a subtle thing. I mean, I guess it is because no one know how the Mira Lucas planet got fucked up. But, that kind of power, Second off, that whole draining force thing, is that what I did to Master Varuk? Because if so, that's fairly disconcerting. You said it was to fill, like, the hollow, empty spaces, but, Jafan's kinda worried about that. I feel like, okay. How are they able to drain the force?
As much as one may use the Force to bolster the wills and strengths of others, the reverse is possible, though not often used. Instead of sending one's will through connections in the Force, instead such connections are drawn upon, fed upon, and drained completely.
All life is touched by the Force?
Then you understand how terrible such a power is, and why it must be ended. It is an empty road to the dark side, and by traveling it, the price is death before one's time. He is a breach in the Force, capable of consuming the lives of those around him. Sometimes the touch is slow, as it is with his crew.
So he feeds on Force sensitives.
It is not something he can direct or focus, much like hunger itself. He is more of a hole in the Force than a living thing. Force sensitives and worlds rich in the Force draw him. The Miraluka world was one such place. That is why where the Jedi gather, Jedi will die. He will feel it, unless they mask their presence. But KOTOR called out as a beacon to him, and he could not resist it. And he cares nothing for the Sith, or its teachings, or the Jedi. And when the Jedi are dead, he will feed on the galaxy, the Republic, and eventually consume the Sith as well. There is no future in the empty galaxy he sees, and that is why he must be stopped. The breach must be sealed before his power grows beyond what even we can hope to stop.
So, Jafan's been going on a power trip, right? And Krea's been there, like, the entire time, whispering words of power and trying to guide him as she would like, and challenging him and throwing questions and all sorts of things that viewers have discussed, not just in the comments, but in my Discord server as well. Like, getting Krea's point and also, like, challenging Krea's point with, like, what the fuck? You can't say Jafan's responsible for that dude not getting... Like, Jafan is responsible for that dude who didn't get 5 credits, like, hurting that other dude? No. That's a lack of accountability right there. You know, stuff like that. Anyway, so yeah, whole power trip thing. Self-interest. This is... what the fuck? Like... Jafan's got nothing. Like, he doesn't know how to respond to that. Like, that sounds horrifying. There's no other way around it. There is this entity that is apparently not the death of the Force, although this sounds like the death of the Force, but a hole in the Force that consumes everything involving the Force. And since all living things are made of the Force, it will consume and devour everything. Jafan's pretty fucking confident that he can't do that. He's never heard of anything being able to do that. Like, hell, he doesn't even know if he could shoot that. Nah, he can probably shoot that. I know. Slow down. Still, that's, and the fact that Krea's the one saying this, like, she's always got her own agenda. You can't tell whether she's lying, right? Or, like, what her motives are, even though she says, ask and I will answer. You have to find, like, the truth from, like, all the cryptic old woman bullshit. Sounds really fucking awful. Yeah. So if that's allowed to exist, it's not just the Republic or the Jedi that won't have a future. Nothing has a future. So he's no longer a man?
One cannot have power of that magnitude that her master possesses and still think and perceive the universe as we do, as most of us do. I had hoped that you would not have to confront him, but her presence here has changed all that. You will have to meet him in battle. You must be prepared to sacrifice the Blinded One. Perhaps her death will buy you the time you need to deal with her master.
So, Kreia seems to have warmed up a bit to the existence of Visa upon this ship. And perhaps Kreia is like, don't fall to lustful temptation or whatever, because you might have to sacrifice her in order to save yourself, in order to defeat this entity, so that the entire galaxy is not consumed. Right? Got it. Yeah, I'm gonna go now. That sounds awful. Yeah, so we got dark side points there because, pick the answer choice involving Visa killing herself, and that might end up, like, harming, if not killing her master in some way, which really doesn't sound like a bad thing. Really doesn't. Like, I don't even know if that's, like, if I would sweep that to, like, the bin of, like, the greater good sacrifices. This sounds like a legit good thing. Why is that a bad thing? How is Visa a good person? Like, oh, she never asked for this. Oh, she had no control. She's been under the domination of her master this entire time. I don't know, man. I guess I have a different interpretation of morality than the folks who designed this video game, and perhaps the folks who designed Star Wars lore. I could see an argument for it being a good thing. Just think, you know, she's kind of a bad person. That was before we met, you know, just throwing that out there. Like, she certainly is not a good person. Yeah, do you have anything else to say, by chance?
You have grown strong in the Force. I can feel its mark upon you. Be warned. The highest of mysteries cannot be found by falling to the dark side. It is a quick path, and often a short one. But I sense a disquiet in you, an unrest. Such things will erode your strength.
Okay. Sure. Why do people on our journey trouble me with these indignities, these fetching missions, this servant work? I am anxious for the chance to test my power against something greater. There is no way to display my strength when the galaxy is filled with begging fools, unable to solve their own problems. Jafan. Gambler. Likes risk, likes challenge. You know, enjoys comforts, but he is very much a capable fighter who's willing to, like, take risks. He's a scoundrel without actually, you know, being a scoundrel. You know, Blades in the Dark comes to mind with the idea of, like, a scoundrel who's, like, willing to, like, fight, like, tooth and claw to get his share, rather than being handed to him. I mean, worst case, if it comes between, like, not having it and having it, he would take it being handed it to him, you know? You know, he's someone of action. That said, he is often troubled, like, the idea of, like, these fetching missions, this servant work, folks keep, like... I don't think he cares about that. I am anxious for the chance to test my power against something greater. Maybe not as great as that dude who's like a hole in the Force, but something greater.
They sense the trappings of power and decision upon you. Their lives are static, trapped, and they see one who carries no such chains.
That's not exactly what I said. Like, that doesn't, like, directly answer. That's sculpted for, like, an answer to, like, 1 or 3, not 2. We have more important things to do.
Ah, then you have learnt nothing. From such small things, from such critical points, the universe and its masses may be moved. That is why you must be careful in all that you do, and in every choice you make. Aiding them gives you strength by taking on their challenges, but weakens them. If that is your choice, then use their dependency, feed upon it, until you have exhausted them. Then leave them. And I would view the ones you travel with much the same way.
So I reckon that if you are a subscriber to the ideas of the Force, then you would, through that, like, prism, think that, well, Jafan isn't directly responsible for that dude, like, you know, who didn't get the 5 credits, like, suddenly becoming a dick. Jafan influenced that decision and was the tipping point through it because of the power that he exudes. Like, because he is, you know, someone who does action rather than reaction. You know, that he is a controller, that, you know, he influences things, that, as a result, he can send ripples throughout the entire world, or the entire galaxy. You know, that's how he ends up being a nexus point for all this interest being drawn to him, like an adventurer. You know, in a role-playing game. You know, that they end up sending out ripples in their own way. Or maybe it's just because the player character, well, is played by a player who's a real person, and the non-player characters aren't real. You know, who can say, right? Trying to make an argument for, like, Krea's moralizations, based on, like, that prism. You know, and, the idea that, hey, you're the one who actually is fucking doing all this because of how powerful you are. You have to assume responsibility because they're too weak to have responsibility. Okay. You would view the ones I travel with in much the same way, then I shall view you as disposable then, old scow.
Ah, now you are learning. Do you know why those we meet display such weakness? As I said, their lives are static, untested.
NPCs.
It is only through interaction, through decision and choice, through confrontation, physical or mental, that the Force can grow within you. You have seen it. You have felt it within you as you have traveled with me. The growing anger, the rage, and the power it brings. Yet the power does not build without such struggle. Through small cruelties, greater ones are born.
Wait, anger? Rage? Everything I'm angry about is how useless you motherfuckers are around me. And why you keep scolding me. I'll be going now. Of course, that makes Jafan an even more terrible person. Oh, it's getting even darker. Like a storm effect behind him. You got anything new to say with that?
Ah, you are here. You felt it, did you not?
Yes. It was a sound. Like power.
The time to hide your presence is coming to a close, and you will need to increase your training. You are ready. Your training must increase, and there are higher mysteries you must learn. But only you must know the path you will take. I cannot choose it for you.
Cannot
choose
choose
it
it
for
for
that stirs you? To meet an enemy blade upon blade, such is the way of the greatest of the Sith marauders who seek strength in war and their rage. Or is it the ways of darkness and shadow that you seek? The power that comes from striking unseen and sensing weaknesses in others, the ways of the assassins of the Sith. Or perhaps your way lies with the Sith and the heart of their darkness. To recognize what strength is and bring that strength to those that follow you and those that defy you. The way of a Sith Lord.
Cool. So I wasn't expecting this. Talking about Visa's master gave us enough dark points to spill over into having a discussion about, like, followers, sycophants, which spills over into this. Jafan is of sufficient, weighting to one side or the other to, pick a prestige class. It's now open. Okay. So, you know, Jafan's player, the GM, have, like, a conversation about that. whole Sith Lord thing, Jafan's not committed to these ideas of the Sith, whatever they might be. Also down that path leads to Force powers, and Jafan's player's not having any of that shit, right? Because this is not a Force playthrough, like, oh no, you're not tricking me with that. Sith Assassin. Jafan doesn't, like, strike out of, like, darkness. He also has fought Sith Assassins who have been wildly ineffective, though the way Kreia tells it, they weren't that effective because Jafan wasn't that effective, but then again, Kreia's strong with the Force, right? Unless in her fall from grace she lost power, too. Yeah, because she talks about, like, the glory days, right? And they are tied and connected to each other, so perhaps, like, she ended up disguising her potential too. Who can say, right? Anyway, that's just, like, not how Jafan is. He's, you know, abrasive. He's, you know, upfront. You know, if there's going to be, like, a fighter situation, he's just gonna, like, slap his, like, blaster down on the table, his blasters, and say, "Motherfucker, I will pick these up and shoot you if you cross me." A viewer ended up leaving a comment, like, whenever I talk with, like, the exchange thugs, and, like, intimidated, like, let's throw down, and I failed the check. Like, no, that's actually a success. This is exactly what Jafan wanted. The confrontation, the challenge, the struggle. You know, the gamble, and what's more valuable to gamble than your life? Never quite stated it or thought of it in such a profound way before as it pertains to Jafan. I don't actually think Jafan could think of something more valuable to gamble than his life. That might be part of why he enjoys combat so much. The risk involved. Although, I mean, he wouldn't think that there's rage and anger building up inside of him. That's what the Sith Marauder sounds like. So, it'd basically be like, okay, GM, like, you know my character and what I intend to do with this character. What's the most appropriate based on my goals for this character? And, GM would be like, the Sith Marauder. It's basically like it's the prestige class that is most in line with Jafan. And so, that is what we'll pick here. I wish to become a Sith Marauder.
It is not some great test you require to be what you strive to be. It is only your decision to find that path that matters. From here on, you guide your destiny. But in order to take the next steps, you must face your past and put it to rest.
You have become a prestige class and taking your first steps to learning the higher mysteries of the Force. I got an achievement for that. Okay. Jedi Guardian 15 and Sith Marauder 0. And that choice should have given us enough experience to level up. Like, we get like a free level up in Sith Marauder. I guess we'll do this now. Maybe. Attribute point. We'll put it into Constitution. Sort of regret putting this point of Dexterity. Oh well, things happen. I like the idea of having a higher Constitution for, like, you know, those implants that take 18 Constitution. I can't exactly rely on my conversations or interactions with any NPC to give me bonus to Constitution. What do you recommend, game? You recommend Strength. You're terrible. Skills-wise. Demolitions, Persuasion... Let's go ahead and set it like this. Feats. Weapon focus, lightsaber, greater prestige sense, and increased combat damage. The feat that I think we'll go for next is... This precise shot tree is calling to me. It sings. But I think I'll pick up Master Rapid Shot to avoid that -2 penalty to attacks. There are folks who are fighting who do have a high defense that we have to buff up in order to hit reliably. And this will take care of that. And also removes the penalty to defense as well. Powers-wise, we've gained access to Fury. Let's go ahead and pick up Master Valor. +5 to all physical attributes and saving throws, immunity to poison. I mean, it's a light side power, but just the way it goes for Jafan, you know? And we accept that. And we do get another level up. So let's go right into that. Skills again. Still continuing to emphasize demolitions and persuasion. I don't know how many more points I really have to put into persuade, though. You know, maybe around 20 is where I'll stop for demolitions and persuade, and... or maybe start, like, emphasizing repair again. Beats me. We get another feat. Awesome. Because I am leveling up in the Prestige class now, which has, like, its own tracker for, like, advancement of stuff. Let's see, regenerate force points. I could see that being useful. I'm not going to do the sniper shot thing. I'm enjoying using the rapid shot for the extra attack rather than emphasizing like a critical thing. Obviously not that. Advanced Jedi defense, bonuses to deflection rolls. Increased combat damage here. At first level they do additional 2 points of damage with any successful attacks. And that will level up more as we advance that, and we'll get extra damage with our attacks. I like it. We also apparently have access to Superior 2-Weapon Fighting, which reduces the attack penalty of a character wielding a double-bladed weapon or 2 weapons. But that is a very marginal gain. Like, this entire, like... no, excuse me. This entire feat tree just seems so... meh. Like, whatever. Like, an extra 3 feats in exchange for, like, that just doesn't seem to be that valuable, even though we've unlocked it. I would rather, finally, pick this up. Precise shot. We get another power. I will put that in Master Energy Resistance. We're done. There we go. Jedi Guardian 15, Sith Marauder 2. 280 Vitality points, 146 Force points, defense of 24. Our powers that we're looking at here. Fury is here. Sith Marauder can enter a Furious Rage. Strength bonus, Vitality, Will Fortitude build, immune to paralysis and stasis. Every kill gains more Fury, but you suffer a penalty to defense. Oh, by the way, our Master Valor cost a bit more due to our heavy dark side leaning. Do we have anything else? Feats-wise, let me cycle through these. Greater Prestige Sense. We get an extra defense score. Extra defense things. Obviously, we get like our extra combat damage, which is pretty nice. Jafan is even more powerful. 13 to 43 points of damage. With his Mandalorian heavy blasters. 24 defense. Saves look pretty strong, of course, except for his will save. 8 wisdom, you know? It's how it goes. And with that force pull, he can definitely slap down the bus before a combat situation. Okay. Wow, I didn't think this entire video would really be talking to Kreia again, and that it would last as long as it did, for sure, or that I would go up in a prestige class. Alright. I feel better about the game now, so I guess this video completely served its purpose. Next time we go back out, I'm not entirely sure who we take along. I'm glad that we saw some of Atton's flavor there. But after Jafan basically said, I will kill you, and Atton's like, I double dog dare you, then again, Atton did prove to be incredibly useful there. You know, his ability to continually pick himself back up and fight and go back down and pick himself back up is pretty neat in a long-lasting combat. I had to give it some thought. From Jedi Guardian and Sith Marauder, Jafan Milano. This is Grimith signing out on this damn Evan Hawk. Or, of course, no one attacks it while Jafan's on it. Since Paragus, anyway. I guess they learned their lesson. Take care.